Hi, and welcome back to Legalese. My name is Brendan Francois, and I'm State Counsel here at the Attorney General's Office. Today, I have with me Ms. Kahaki Jere, the Head of Advisory and Principal State Counsel here at the Attorney General's Office. Ms. Jere, perhaps a good place to start would be to introduce yourself and to give us a little bit about your background.
Thank you, Brandon. Like you already said, my name is Kahaki Jere. I am the Principal State Counsel responsible for legal advisory in the Attorney General's office, which is one of the sections in the AG's office. I am from Malawi. My background, generally, while I'm here, is because I have a background in law. But I come with legislative drafting experience. Before moving to the Seychelles, I worked for the government of Malawi, specifically the Ministry of Justice. And there I worked as a public prosecutor for about 4 years, and then thereafter worked in the drafting section for about 12 years. So I was a legislative drafter. And then I worked as a director of corporate services in the Public Procurement and Disposal of Assets Authority. So I also have a public procurement background. I joined the Office of the Attorney General in January, so I will be clocking 6 months on 9th of July next
Okay.
month.
And how are you finding it so far?
So far, so good. It's interesting. I come from a common law background experience, and working in the Seychelles government is a new experience to some extent. And I'm also able to apply my common law background experience because what the law applicable is civil law, and it's a combination of civil law and common law. So that's an interesting area to work with.
Definitely, definitely, I agree. And when we talk about advisory in government and at the Attorney General's office, what does that mean exactly?
As you're well aware, the legal advisor to the government is the Attorney General. His office is established under the Constitution. So there's a constitutional mandate that the Attorney General executes, and we as staff in the Attorney General's office assist the Attorney General in fulfilling that mandate. So the legal advisory section does contribute to that mandate. And legal advice entails advising government ministries, departments, and agencies, which we term as our clients. So the clients of the Attorney General is the government. So
Yes.
government entities, and not the natural person in the street. So we work with government entities just to make it clear to the public, if you, Brandon, as state counsel, you would not come to the Attorney General's for advice because there are other avenues you can go to other lawyers. But our role is to ensure that government execute its mandate within the confines of the law. So legal advice entails giving advice to the government before they take any decisions, or when they take a decision and maybe there are questions of the law that need to be addressed. So that's the role of the Attorney General, is to at least to try and ensure that decisions of the government are legally sound. So we work with all arms of the government, the executive, parliament. You already, I'm sure you've interviewed my colleagues of the drafting section, so I'll just limit myself to
I have.
Yeah.
And just to be clear, so does that mean someone cannot walk in off the street and come into our office and ask for legal advice?
That would not be considered as our client unless there's an issue with government ministry. So
Okay.
it is the government ministry which would have to come to the AGs to find the best way to resolve the issue with another citizen. But the clients of the Attorney General are, like I said, government ministries, agencies, and departments.
Of course. And our office is, I'd say, fairly big. It's around 60 to almost 70 people in the office. And in the AG's office, who provides legal advice? Who is under your supervision, essentially?
So state counsel, I work with state counsel and drafters, legislative counsel, in giving legal advice, because we do have a separate section department which provides public prosecution services. So they do give. So when I say that the AG does not give advice to the public, they do contribute to the justice terrain of the government as in totality, but it's just channeled through the government ministries, departments, and agencies who ultimately translate their policies to the citizens. So the citizens do ultimately benefit from the advice of the Attorney General.
Okay. And as advisors, what do we need from the government ministries for us to be able to give a comprehensive legal advice?
So, like I said, the role of Attorney General is to ensure that the government, our clients, I'll just call them that after this, carry out decisions that can be defendable. So what we do need is like the complete background of an issue. So basically, when they come to the Attorney General, there's a problem to be solved. So we need to understand the context of the background, the facts, the policy. So for example, if it's in an area to do with international relations, we need to look at what is Seychelles' position. So the ministry has to be clear as to what their position is when they are advancing this probable international relation issue. So what the Attorney General's office does is to try and look at the legal aspects that would apply to that scenario, whereas the ministry would have to be very clear what their policy stance is and based on the facts. So what we need is like a factual background and a policy background for us to ably give a legal solution to whatever issues that are brought up.
Okay. And you personally, what is your approach to legal advisory?
So generally what we try to do is to understand as much as we can of the problem that a client has so that we're able to help them. So what we require of our clients is they should help us help them. Because for example, if you're going to the hospital, say, I want Panadol, you need to explain what your problem is. Do you have a headache? So I need to understand where that is coming from. So when you bring a headache, I was like, when did you start feeling this? So this is just a random example. So when it comes to our clients, we need to look at what issue they have. So for example, if it is a policy that they have and they have implementation challenges and they're trying to find a way on how to resolve that problem without flouting the law. Or for example, when they have legislation that they're implementing, but then there's a gap they feel there's a gap in the law which they feel they cannot address a fact that has a reason. So we're able to assess the facts that they have at hand, which has given rise to the problem, and we look at the solution that the law has. So sometimes, so when it comes to legal advice, every case is different.
Yes.
There's no one size fits all.
Yes.
So you can't say this is how we do things different. It's like it's the same way when you go to the hospital. Every case is different. So even if it's the same ministry, sometimes there are recurring legal issues that probably you might take the same approach, but then the best approach is to try and understand the context of the issue that has arisen. So this is done through having meetings with our clients. So it's this best resolved by them understanding where we're coming from, because we cannot help our clients without understanding the background of the matter. So this is the policy stance of the ministry or department or agency and the factual problem that has arisen. So we try to find a solution by applying the law if it is applicable. Or if there's a need to change the law, then we have the whole drafting section, which I'm sure you've already had a chat with.
Yes, I think we have actually. And when we talk about advisory, oftentimes that can lead into another part of what I would call maybe being a lawyer. So in your experience here so far, how often does a piece of advice end up into being a case or into another agreement? How does that process go?
Because I think it's the Attorney General's office stands in a very unique position where all departments feed into each other. So if a problem cannot be solved, when you look at the legal advice that's given and you find that there's no solution in the law, that's when we pass the baton to the drafting section. Or for example, we give legal advice on a case that probably cannot be resolved administratively. We have to go to court. So then it feeds into the civil litigation section.
Right.
Or if it raises criminal matters, and the law is very clear that what the facts are giving are criminal, then it goes to the prosecution section. So that I can't say that it recurs a lot. However, it's all on a case by case basis. So right now, working on the statistics, as you're well aware, as the AG had indicated, we're driving towards having more statistics. So at this point in time, it's it's not, I wouldn't quantify it as in a percentage as to how it fits into the other departments, but then we all complement each other. So ultimately, the AG's office does give a solution either through legal advice, amendment of the law, a criminal prosecution, or civil litigation.
Definitely, and it certainly helps that we're all under one roof.
Yes.
And we can all work very closely together. And perhaps before we end, I'd like to ask, what is your vision for advisory in the Attorney General's office?
I foresee, I look forward to having a legal advisory section with enhanced stakeholder engagement. We want to feel closer to our stakeholders, which are our clients, so that at least we are more dependable. And the Attorney General's, I think, vision, and as you see in our strategic plan, is to have an efficient legal advisory service delivery. So that's in probably, let me see how many years from now. In accordance with our strategic plan. So we have a 5-year strategic plan, and we're moving towards having that efficient service delivery. And it comes to giving sound legal advice, which the AG can be able to defend, and our clients are comfortable, and we are seen as a more reliable legal advisory service center.
I love that. And actually, on that point, you made me think about something. In your view, how do you think that we'd be able to have specialist advisory sections, or do you think that an advisor should be able to have a wide scope of the law and be able to advise across the board?
Yes, so we're in the next few months, we're looking towards developing sort of cells or units which focus on either negotiation, various areas of the law. Let's say we have elections next year, so we need to have state counsel who, blink of an eye, they'll be able to advise on electoral matters. However, it is the foundation is for all state counsel to be able to advise in all areas of the law, because ultimately we have a vision where we have state counsel who would rise up to the position of Attorney General.
Hopefully.
So, yes, hopefully. You should be also working on that. So all state counsel ideally should be able to rise to the position of Attorney General. And as state counsel, the foundation is to be able to research on the law, be able to learn various sections of the sectors of the law. So we have court work, civil litigation, criminal, and all these emerging issues that come from clients help state counsel and us also enhance our knowledge in the various sectors of the law. So my vision is to ensure that we have the capacity to be able to advise in all areas of the law that come in. We'll have state counsel that would be allocated to specialize in various areas, but however, if a state counsel is called on to give advice on a particular matter, they should be able to easily research and give advice without just being stuck on one area of the law. But as the state counsels arise in their career, we will have specialization in the various areas. So we'll have a legal advisory section with specialists in the various areas of the law who are also able to ably give legal advice to clients in an area of the law which they're not specifically just focused on. That's what will make the future attorneys general in the AG's office.
Okay, well, thank you for being with us today, and thank you for guiding us through our advisory progression. This has been an episode of Legalese.
Pleasure.
And we hope to see you for the next episode.